from our assessment, I can see the crop of stakeholders and professionals brought, in the room, and I believe that this is a hot pot, right, where these issues are being discussed, and I want to hope that from here we can be able to get into actions that result into real impact on real people, right? So beyond just talking, I can see the crop of people that is really significant and commendable. But what's going to be more important, and what I hope for through this conference, will be translating this discussion into action. Right? We can see government, we can see private sector individuals, we can see development organizations who are interested in the agricultural sector. Yeah, we can be able to make things work.
Like I said in my presentation, all the stakeholders in the agri ecosystem in Nigeria, especially the government and the private sector and investors, need to come together to a round table to discuss the possible investment available for the mechanization ecosystem, especially for making tractors available to smallholder farmers, affordable tractors. If we have tractors that farmers can easily pay for, all right, it will reduce the dependency on on crude equipment. Okay, so the call to action is for every player in the system to sit down on a round table and discuss how to make this possible. If it is investment, bring in your investment. If it is policy, how can government policy improve and impact positively on the availability of tractors? Can we, by policy, increase the number of tractors available to farmers across Nigeria? Can we, by policy, reduce the costs of tractors currently? So I think that is with the various stakeholders and the powers that be to make sure that tractors are everywhere for smallholder farmers. Yeah, and I think that's the way to go. With what we currently have, even imported tractors are not enough. All right, there's a huge deficit of almost about 200,000 tractors in Nigeria. We can make that up. We can make up that number by fabricating locally, by supporting local fabricators. I don't think we have up to 5 firms or companies fabricating currently in Nigeria. We can increase the number of local fabricators. We can make funds available to them to be able to include. We can develop markets for them. We can help them with demand. We can help them with all sort of their capacity to be able to adequately fabricate and manufacture and release these tractors to the farming population to enable everybody have at least enough tractors to farm their land. We provide technology services connecting farmers to owners of tractors, number one. We also work in policy, working with the government to see how, through the impact of policy, we can reduce drastically the effect of the economy on fabricators and manufacturers and importers of tractors. Right. Number 3, we collaborate. We work with every interested private sector player, public sector player, and farmer groups to understand the various challenges and how to play our role in reducing the problems. Yeah, it's definitely a limitation because, again, like I said at the presentation, if farmlands are scattered everywhere, it's almost impossible for any owner of tractor to make their tractors available. All right. So how do we start clustering farmers? How do we start bringing them together? How do we make it possible for a particular, for instance, a particular 200 hectares or 1,000 hectares? Yeah. How do we make it possible for farmers to actually cultivate together? Right? How do we build a farming community? Okay, so that when a tractor hits that community, the owner is able to till about 1,000 hectares or even 500 hectares or 2,000 hectares, right, without moving out of that community. So clustering is the way to go. Developing farming communities is the way to go. My major takeaway from this event is that if, again, all the stakeholders can collaborate and they mean it, it's possible to make Nigeria so food secure.
So I think number one, it's a myth to say that we don't have farmers in Lagos. In the last 6 months, 9 months to 1 year, We in the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Systems, we've been on farm tours, moving around various farms in the three agricultural zones of Lagos in Badagry, Ikorodu, and Ekpe areas. Maybe we don't have as many vegetable or crop farmers as you have in other parts of the country, because our farmers are more focused on poultry, livestock, piggery, and aquaculture. So they are also farmers. And then you have the artisanal fishermen as well. But we do have farmers indeed in Lagos. In the Ojo axis, for instance, Badagry, you have a lot of vegetable farmers. In the Ekpe axis, Ikorodu axis, you have a lot of aquaculture and poultry farmers, and in other areas you have pig farmers as well. So number one, it is a myth that we do not have farmers. Being here today at the Business Day Summit, moving Nigeria from food scarcity to sufficiency and what have you, it just consolidates everything we have been doing as a Lagos state government under the leadership of Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, putting together a market-led transformation. I was very happy that in there, one of the panelists had mentioned that systems and building the right kind of systems for all stakeholders within the value chain is actually what is most critical, rather than giving silo-led interventions, which is what is the norm. And having a market-led transformation system is actually the fulcrum of all we are doing in the state government in Lagos State. And essentially, it is harmonizing all the efforts of value chain actors. So you're talking about logistics providers, you're talking about storage facilities being made available, you're talking about input providers, you're talking about market actors themselves, the market men and women, you're talking about aggregators, you're talking about financiers, you're talking about everybody and anyone you can think of in the value chain that would ensure that your food moves from the farm to your table. That is the essence of having a market-led system, and that is what we are doing in Lagos State. Building the largest food logistics hub, which will cater to the aggregation that is required to be able to consolidate all holdings around food and ensure that at least we have a minimum of 180 days of availability of food if there's a disruption in the system. But yes, will that guarantee?
That guarantee drop in price.
Yes, that's the whole idea, because when you have enough food available, it means you take out fluctuations as regards availability. Also, you have preservation in place, because you can't store food without having the right preservation technologies in place. At the same time, the price point at which you buy, it means you no longer are subject to demand and supply fluctuations or even climatic conditions, because you have the foods available year round, and for that reason you can actually stabilize prices. These are areas we have seen are critical to the overall ecosystem in agriculture, and this is where we are putting our monies behind, to ensure that for the entire Nigerian space. And when we talk about agricultural food availability, Lagos is at the forefront. We understand our place as the largest market in sub-Saharan Africa, and we know that we must also collaborate with other states that have the capacity and capability to be able to provide the quantum of food that is required. So this is not just a silo game. It is for all of us, private sector, public, non-governmental, civil society, for all of us to partner, come together, and ensure that we have food available for everyone. So I hope I have broken the myth for you, but I mean, it's left for you to come and see what we are doing in the space, but we indeed do have farmers. I mean, come out during World Food Day celebration and you'll see that Lagos does indeed have farmers. No, when you say eggs are expensive,
Everything that
in Lagos, we just rounded up the Onje Eco Food Farmers Subsidy Program, where we actually subsidize input feed for poultry farmers and aquaculture farmers. We gave a 25% subsidy. We worked with the likes of Olam and with the likes of Animal Care in ensuring that the farmers got the feed also directly from the manufacturers themselves. And that was able to help bring down the cost of eggs and the cost of chicken and the cost of even fish. Right now, as I speak to you, at one of our facilities, which is the middle level hub at Mushi Idiro, that's a fresh food hub, egg is sold at the lowest price in the state. And when I'm talking about eggs, I'm talking about the largest sized eggs, and a crate is going for 5,300, whereas in other parts of the state we have eggs going for about 6,000 to 6,500 naira. The same thing is happening for many other products, and these are things that we are working on as a state government to say when we have specific locations, when we have facilities that can be controlled in terms of quality, in terms of accessibility by the farmers themselves, where you negate the middlemen, then consumers will be able to access food at lower prices, and government will also be able to intervene properly and ensure that in terms of subsidies, in terms of interventions, it is going straight from government to the consumer, taking out the middleman in the whole space. My major takeaways from this event would be that number one, we have actors who are really practicing within the space. And when I say actors, you're talking about from farmers themselves to those who are in the finance sector. And these are people who truly are catering to the people within the space, so they know what they're talking about. Number two, I'm very happy again, like I mentioned earlier, it is a systemic solution that must be adopted. And a systemic solution means we cannot work in silos. We must cater to the issues surrounding logistics, we must cater to the issues surrounding storage, we must cater to the issues surrounding credit and finance and insurance and financial accessibility. We must cater to production itself. We must cater to climatic issues regarding ESG and what have you. We must cater to water resources even being made available. So when you put all of this together in one full basket and solutions are tailored to each and every one of them, but in congruence with one another, then we'll start to have the right kind of solutions to the entire problem. The bottom line at the end of the day is food availability. What is food availability? It is when food is made available at the right price, in the right quantity, at the right time, to the right consumers. And this is where markets also come in. Markets help to harmonize all of these efforts together. And for you and I, that comes up to us in the form of pricing and in the form of the freshness and wholeness of the food. So this is what we are doing in Lagos State Government, and I'm very happy that what Business Day is doing here today, it just harmonizes for us all of our efforts in the last couple of years.
As Jovren Group, we own 48,000 metric ton cocoa processing plants in Nigeria, which make us the largest indigenous cocoa processing plants in Nigeria and second largest indigenous cocoa processing plants in Africa. So as a group, we encourage value addition. And that is why we are into value addition, adding value to our commodity. So as a group in John Vane Group, we have some of our subsidiaries that are adding value to our commodities, such as cocoa processing. So in John Vane Industries, what we do is we process cocoa bean into cocoa butter, cocoa cake, cocoa powder, which are also served as raw material for some organization. And as a processing company, we also process cashew into some other derivative under the authority of our other subsidiary, Noble Eagle. We also process sesame. We process soybean into soybean oil. We process paddy rice into polished rice. And with this, what we are doing is to encourage value addition to our commodity and also to discourage food importation. We are encouraging local food production within the agricultural sector and also to encourage the smallholder farmers into farming and also to encourage the youth to go back to farm, because by adding value to all this commodity, we are also encouraging people to come and rather than exporting the raw commodity abroad. In John Vane Group today, we are partnering with over 15,000 farmers, and by 2030, we have a target of partnering with 150,000 farmers, and which means that in long term, we are encouraging more smallholder farmers. And also within our schemes, we have a scheme in John Vane Group. We have the in-grass schemes, and we have the hard-grass scheme. We are doing this to encourage farmers, especially from the small orders to the mid-level, and to the large farmers group. And in John Vere groups today, we are encouraging cooperative settings. We are encouraging farmer groups in such a way that our farmers, especially both in our outgrass farming scheme and in-grass farming scheme, we have different farmers group and we have different cooperative. And we are not stopping at that. As I speak to you, as of last week, we still have a team on the field encouraging cooperative formation so that we can have more farmer group within our group to encourage smallholder farming system within
Business.
yeah, in Nigeria today, farmers are suffering up to 40% post-harvest loss. We realize this as a business, as John Vane Group. And that is why we have built and we are still building small warehousing units in every community where we have our farmer group in order to avert the challenges of poor road, like you mentioned, before they bring in their commodity from the farm to the town or from the farm to the market, there are lots of losses. So in order to avert this, in each of our community where our cooperative and farmer group are established, we have many warehouses for them. And also through our logistic arm. As a business, we also have a logistic arm named Avon Hauling, where we have over 100 trucks. So we have access to easy logistics. So through this, we move all this in bits from their local warehousing to the factory and also to the mega warehouses in the city. We also, through our transportation system that we currently established, we also encourage farmers and make transportation easier for them for moving their products from their farm to the local warehouse hub and also to our mega warehouses in the city and also to the factory for processing. Yeah, so our business, we are into both local processing and also into export